My name is Daniil Gataulin. I'm one of the senior research analysts covering biotech here at Chardon, where our vision is to help identify companies with high potential for investment returns based on creating real value for society through disruptive innovation. It is my pleasure to introduce Riad Sherif, the CEO of Oculis, to our virtual ophthalmology summit, where the initial focus is on AMD and diabetes-related ocular diseases. Riad, welcome.
Thank you, Daniil.
Yeah, so to start things off, Riad, if you could spend a few minutes and talk a little bit about Oculis, provide an overview of the company and maybe highlight some of the recent milestones.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Daniil, for your kind invitation. Very happy to be here to introduce Oculis. Oculis is a biopharma company focusing on ophthalmology with a pipeline of 3 clinical candidates and 6 ongoing programs. Our lead programs are in DME. We have 3 programs in retina, or 3 indications in retina, and 3 indications in front of the eye, with DME as a lead program in phase 3.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So the lead program that you're referring to is OCS-01, as mentioned, the lead asset for DME, also for post-surgery pain and inflammation, and also cystoid macular edema. Can you tell a little bit more about what is unique about OCS-01? And it utilizes the technology called OptiReach. So if you can talk about that technology and what it enables you to achieve.
Yes, of course, Daniil. And if you allow me, I will just go through the pipeline to give a holistic picture, and then I will focus on OCS-01. So our 3 clinical stage assets are OCS-01, OCS-02, and OCS-05. OCS-01 is in a phase 3 in 2 indications, diabetic macular edema as the first ever topical for DME. The second indication is ocular surgery to treat inflammation and pain following ocular surgeries. And the third indication is called CME, or cystoid macular edema, which is a complication of surgery or a complication of uveitis. These are the 3 programs where OCS-01 is in development. OCS-02, which is a TNF inhibitor, is a biologic, use a different technology in development in 2 indications, dry eye, with a very unique approach with the biomarker, and uveitis. And the third clinical candidate is OCS-05. OCS-05 is the first-in-class SGK2 in neuroprotection in development in an indication which is called acute optic neuritis, which is an inflammation of the optic nerve, which happened in 50% of multiple sclerosis. So these are the 3 ongoing programs. And as you can see, we have, I would say, really a multi-shot on goal, rich, diversified, and innovative pipeline with milestones in 23 and in 24. Now, to address your question on OCS-01, you are totally right. OCS-01 is based on a technology which was developed by Oculis called OptiReach. OptiReach is really a technology which, for the first time ever, as I said, showed clinically meaningful result with the topical treating a retinal disease, in this case, DME. And as you may know, we now have 4 clinical trials, 2 exploratory, a phase 2, and the stage 1 of the phase 3, where OCS-01 consistently showed benefit in terms of visual gains and in terms of anatomical improvement in the retina. To add further, in terms of the OptiReach technology, so OptiReach technology was developed by Oculis. The first candidate is OCS-01, but I am optimistic because now, after the multiple validations of the technology, we should be able also to enrich our pipeline with new product, leveraging OptiReach as a new technology to deliver product into the retina with an eye drop.
Got it. And specifically about OptiReach. So what exactly does it enable you to do? What is unique? What is the the real value of OptiReach?
Yeah. So I would say the real value is really to have the very first product which works in retina. When I joined this company in the very end of December 2017, I recall I came from Novartis Venture Fund. Before I spent time in Alcon as the region president of Europe, and before with the other OFTA products such as Lucentis. And we have been looking for a topical delivery for retinal disease for the last 30 years. I remember when I joined this company in the end of 17, we had at that time ongoing development of 8, 9, 10 product candidates. Really, the only one which made it is OCS-01 in DME. Now, how OptiReach technology works, and to make it perhaps simple, is really addresses the 3 limitations in terms of topical delivery into the eye. The first limitation is just technical, is being able to have very high concentrations in the same volume of eye drop. We are able to achieve it, and when I compare with other product, we can achieve it with a multiplier of 15 or 30-fold more concentrations into the same volume. The second, our product has a much longer residence time. What we call a residence time is the time the product stays on your eye instead of being washed out by the blinking, basically. Product stays. And the third, we are able with our technology to change the physical chemical characteristics of the product, where in the beginning, the complex is hydrophilic and then becomes lipophilic after. And this allows us to have meaningful therapeutic concentrations into the ocular tissues and to be able to deliver the clinical outcomes we are able to deliver.
Got it. That's very helpful. Thank you. So behind OCS-01 is the dexamethasone, right? So that's what you're delivering as an active ingredient.
Correct.
What are some of the benefits of besides being a topical administration? What are some of the benefits of OCS-01 versus, for instance, FDA-approved Ozurdex implant?
Yeah, no, Daniil, you are completely correct. And actually, I think, and it was done before my time in Oculis, I think Oculis has been very smart to go with an active ingredient, which is approved in DME, which basically reduces the risk in terms of question, do we have a product which works in DME? We know the active ingredient works in DME. It is in fact approved. And I think it was very smart. And this was a way to validate the technology. So it was smart to go with something which is approved as an implant, which, as you perfectly say, is Ozurdex. Now, what are the advantage of dexamethasone here in our case, or the class? This product work. They are approved as implant or invasive route of administration, and they reduce inflammation. And we saw it with our product in our clinical trials, but also with the dexamethasone implant, a meaningful benefit in terms of visual acuity and anatomical improvement. Now, our advantage vis-a-vis the implant are really straightforward. We have a product which is topical. You can treat the very first day of diagnostic, and it is non-invasive, therefore less side effect related to the injection and accessible. And in fact, just a recent publication based on a database which is called IRIS, which has almost 200,000 patients. We know that DME patient in the US today, more than 60% of them are not treated 12 months after the diagnostic of DME because of many reasons. And we know that if we have a topical, which is really pre-invasive stage, this patient can be treated the day one. And this is the real benefit this product can bring to millions of patients everywhere in the world is a solution which is efficacious, safe, and accessible immediately to everyone.
Got it. Understand. And I guess in terms of the difference in the available dexamethasone dose, what is it for Ozurdex versus OCS-01?
I would say, so we do not have a head-to-head trial, so therefore I cannot compare them. But what we know is the following. In terms of active, the product worked in Ozurdex works, the dexamethasone implant works, our product works. So therefore, we expect that our product will work as well on BCVA, which is the functional improvement, and anatomical improvement, which is the reduction of the inflammation. I would say the main advantage our product brings is no side effect related to the invasiveness of an implant. And also the flexible approach of our solution, which you can start anytime, you can stop anytime, and you can adapt to your patient when you want. You can titrate up to basically address more severe situations. You can titrate down if you want a maintenance. So it brings an efficacious, safe, and versatile solution, which is brought only by a topical such as OCS-01. And the great news here is OCS-01 is the only topical today in a phase 3 in development, not into its class as a steroid like Ozurdex, regardless which product is the only topical in phase 3 in DME. And there are millions of patients, even if we speak only about the US market, which is a big market, as you know, when you see the prevalence of the disease, and when you see only the diagnosed patient, we are speaking about 1.2 million diagnosed patients in the US who need something else on top of injectable, either to start to treat them early, and today they are not treated. And we know that when they lose vision, the best case scenario for them, even if they are treated after with the injectable, is to regain the half of what they lost. But unfortunately, the other half is lost. With the pre-invasive solution where you can treat early, we will not have this patient losing their vision. And we know also on the other side that around 40% of the patient, even with the current therapies, such as anti-VEGF, which are good therapies as well, 40% of them will not respond and they will need something else. And OCS-01 can bring it. So therefore, really OCS-01 as a topical solution will address a much bigger market than what can do Ozurdex today, which is a dexamethasone implant. Even if I have to say that the dexamethasone implant has been a success, it delivers around $500 million sales per year. Being an implant, imagine what a topical, a flexible, efficacious, and safe solution will bring in the future. It's just much more.
Yeah, got it. Yes. So you alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to dig in somewhat deeper. Can you walk us through the current treatment paradigm for DME? Maybe break it down by severity of disease. What do patients at earlier stages get versus patients at later stages?
Yes, of course. So, as you know, the diabetic macular edema is a complication of diabetes. So therefore, the diabetes type 1 and 2. We are speaking about a disease which is very frequent. We are speaking about more than 35 million patients in the world. If I focus only on the US and Europe, where we have the data, we know that only around 60% of the patients are diagnosed. And within this 60%, 2/3 of them are mild to moderate, and today they are not treated, mainly because we do not have a non-invasive solution. And then 1/3 are treated. So therefore, 2/3 are available patients, addressable patients, but not treated because we do not have a non-invasive solution. Because, I mean, remember, the current treatment which we have, even if they are good as a treatment, and personally, actually, I launched the first one of them, so they are good treatment. A limitation of this treatment is the invasiveness, is an injection every month, every 6 weeks. For patients who are diabetes, who have, as you know, other complications on top of their disease, which is diabetes. So this patient, adding more, I would say, burden on what they have already to do it just heavy for them. And this is why in early stage of the disease, they are not treated, they are more monitored, even if they are losing vision. And we know they are losing vision, and it's documented and well documented. And then for the third, who are treated today, the two class of therapeutics which are used are anti-VEGF and steroids. Both are approved. Steroids are mainly dexamethasone implant, actually, and anti-VEGF, as you know, are Lucentis and Eylea and so on. There are multiple. And we know that when they are treated, 60% will respond well and 40% will not respond, and they will need something else. So you can easily see that OCS-01 addressable market is actually 4 to 5 times bigger than the current market, just because of this easy access route of administration to be able to really treat day one. What will happen also in terms of paradigm shift is today the diagnostic is made by the general ophthalmologist. Patient is referred to the retina. Tomorrow, the general ophthalmologist who will be making the diagnostic will be able to treat immediately after, which will expand the prescriber pool. And the retina are very happy because this will help them actually to improve patient outcomes overall and expand the patient pool, because we are going to treat patients who are not treated today.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Understand. So next, I wanted to jump a little bit in data that you've accumulated so far. So you completed 3 studies, 2 exploratory study, 1 phase 2 study. Can you walk us through those results? Maybe we'll focus on the phase 2, and if you can talk about the design and key takeaways of that.
Yes, of course. So basically, the product, if we focus on program by program, and if we start with the DME, the product was tested now in 4 clinical trials, 2 exploratory and a phase 2, and then stage 1 of the phase 3. If I start with the phase 2, the product showed benefit, statistical significant benefit in terms of functional improvement, which is visual gains, seeing better, basically, and anatomical benefit by showing that the product is able to reduce the inflammation in the retina. Based on this successful phase 2, the company met with FDA and we proposed a phase 3, which is called an adaptive design in 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2. And stage 1 was meant to determine the best regimen to deliver the best outcomes in stage 2. And I'm very pleased to say that the stage 1 was successful, because we have been able to determine a very efficient and very positive regimen, which actually delivered a very strong result in stage 1. And stage 2, we are going with this same regimen. Now, what is exactly this regimen? This regimen is based on 2 cycles of the treatment. A first cycle, which we call a loading dose or an induction therapy. And the second cycle is called a maintenance dose, which is reducing actually the regimen to maintain the result. And actually, in fact, we showed in our trial that we were not only able to maintain the result, we were able actually to continue to improve what we got in terms of endpoint or outcomes with the loading dose. So this is, I would say, a nutshell to summarize our clinical program. Now, if I go into the result, and that will be focusing mainly on the two main, I would say, efficacy endpoint, which are functional endpoint. We have shown in our phase 3 stage 1 that in terms of BCVA or best corrected visual acuity improvement, the improvement after week 12 was 7.6 letters, which is actually at least comparable to injectables, sometimes higher, which is an amazing for a topic. And we have shown that 27% of patients already at week 12 improved by more than 15 letters improvement in terms of visual acuity, which is extremely meaningful for patients. And this result were achieved only with a topical product. So therefore, extremely pleased with our result, extremely pleased for patients. The medical community has been extremely positive about what we have delivered. And now we are moving full steam in the full phase 3 program, which is called the Diamond program in DME, which is starting now, actually.
Got it. So let's. I have a few questions. I wanted to clarify on the phase 3. Maybe start with the more general one in terms of inclusion/exclusion criteria in patient base. How does that differ from say Ozurdex trials?
In fact, is exactly or 99% the same as Ozurdex, the same population, the same trials, perhaps. Let me think. Yeah, is the same inclusion/exclusion criteria than Ozurdex.
Got it. Okay. And then you mentioned about the loading dose or the induction phase. So if I recall correctly, it's a 6-week treatment at 6 drops per day. Does that seem like a lot, or do you see any compliance issues or any complaints from patients that it's too many drops a day? They forget to do one here, one there, and that would potentially affect the readout.
Yeah. So basically, we asked our investigators and we asked them, did you have one patient, even one, only one, who said, I don't want 6 times a day a drop for the first 6 weeks and they want an injection into the eye? And the response was no. All of them were extremely happy with this regimen to start with, because after it goes down, as you know. Because we are comparing really vis-a-vis a needle into the eye. We are not like the alternative is not nothing, is to lose your vision or to have a needle into the eye or to take OCS-01 with an induction short period of 6 times a day, and then after it goes down to 3 times a day. And in fact, the feedback from the patient and investigators was extremely positive. And in fact, in the end of the day, it worked out very well. It means that really the patients were compliant, and it worked very well. And also, you need also to keep into account that, as you know, symptoms are the drivers of compliance. And we are speaking about a disease which comes with symptoms, which is very bad symptom, which is we lose vision. And the same patient taking the drug will regain vision. And when we speak about this 27%, for example, and I'm focusing about this patient, they experience in their life that actually the gain of the vision is changing their life. They were not able to read, they can read. They were not able to cook, they can cook. They were not able to play with their grandchild, they are able to play with their grandchild. So it's a material change in their life. So therefore, the feedback was extremely positive, yes.
Got it. Okay. Next, wanted to clarify the relation between stage 1 and stage 2. So, do I understand correctly that stage 1 was basically to inform, whether your proposed loading dose and then the maintenance dose is sufficient, to see the benefit, and then you're basically expanding it into a greater number of patients and testing that same regimen at stage 2, correct?
Yes, correct. Stage 2 will be very similar to stage 1 in terms of inclusion criteria, regimen, and so on. Yeah, the only difference, the only two differences are, one is the duration is longer because it is a chronic disease. It's 1 year, it's 52 weeks, and the second difference is the sample size is bigger. But all the rest is the same. I mean, stage 1 was such a success, so we will not change it. We will just do it in longer and with a bigger number of patients.
Okay. Also, from your stage A data, I think there was a fairly robust response in visual acuity gains in the vehicle group at 6 weeks, which then went down as the time went on. So 12 weeks, it was much less. I believe Ozurdex also had a fairly significant response in the vehicle group or the control group. Is that something unique about DME or these kinds of trials? Can you comment on that response?
Yeah. This is something which is not unique with OCS-01. We see it really in all the DME trials, regardless of the product tested. And it has mainly to do with the following, is that because DME or diabetic macular edema is a complication of diabetes, as soon as you put patient into clinical trial where you start to monitor everything, their diet, their treatment, and so on, the complication of the disease tend to improve in the beginning. And this is what we see regardless of the trial, actually. So is expected and planned.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay. With respect to safety, I think the increase in intraocular pressure was one of the more common side effects that emerged with treatment. I think up to 14% of patients saw that. How significant is that safety signal? Number one, and number two, is it really transient, given the chronic drops for OCS-01, or do you have to administer some IOP lowering medications on one side?
Yeah. So as you perfectly said, IOP or intraocular pressure is something which is expected with this class of therapeutics, so nothing new. And what we said is nothing new really, and everything was expected. So it was expected. When we compare with the literature, it was toward the lower range. But within the range, it's just toward the lower range. Is this transition? No. If somebody has an IOP increase, then IOP will stay to be higher. And the question is really about, is it below the threshold to be treated or not? Because sometimes what was captured is any IOP increase. So it could be 1 millimeter is captured. So therefore, if somebody, for example, with that, I don't know, 14, 15, and it's increased to 16, 17, then it's okay, no treatment needed, and it is totally acceptable, actually. Now, in our study, 11% of patients received an IOP lowering, and of course, the IOP went down after the treatment. So it's really the choice after, I would say, for 10% of the patient, we will end up with the question, should we give them an IOP lowering, or should we switch them to something else? And it's totally acceptable. And we see it with any drug, in fact, we use as a doctor. This is not specific. But the good news is 90% of the patient responded very well without needing anything else, any IOP lowering or something like this. But we will end up most probably, I mean, as we saw here, with around 10% of patients who need something to reduce their IOP.
Mhm. And did you see if it correlated with the dose, for instance, during the induction phase when they were getting 6 doses a day, it was higher, and then when you switched over to 3 doses a day, it went lower and stabilized there?
So the good news is actually when we compare the means during the loading dose versus a maintenance dose, we don't see more IOP, which is good. It means that we were able actually to drive more efficacy without having more IOP, which is a very good news, actually.
I see. Okay. And I guess another complication from steroids that is fairly common are cataracts. Have you observed, the evidence for increased occurrence of cataracts? And when you treat it chronically, do you have any long-term concerns?
So first, in all our trials, we didn't see any cataract. As you know, cataract need time. It need at least 15 to 18 months to have cataract. So we do not expect to see cataract in less than, let's say minimum 12 months, basically. This is one. The second, as you know, cataract is very frequent, much more frequent in diabetes patients than all comers, around between 2 to 3 times more. So therefore, cataract is something which is expected in diabetes patients. We are not concerned, and when you ask the medical community, they are not concerned about cataract because we know how to treat it very well, and cataract will not come back if it is treated. So therefore, it is not a concern.
Got it. Okay. And to conclude on the DME program, can you summarize what the next steps are? You mentioned that you're expecting to begin dosing soon. If you have any projected timelines for that, and when can we expect to see data from the trial?
Yeah. So basically, what we say that the Diamond 1 and Diamond 2, so the 2 full pivotal trials will start this year with first patient, first visit during the second half of this year. This is what we will deliver. And what we said, we will give guidance in terms of end of the trial as soon as we have first patient, first visit, because then we will have a good base and understanding of how many centers are in place and so on. So we will be communicating this toward the second half of the year. But we are confident because we already did it. Actually in Europe and in the US. So we have good experience and we know how to do it. So we'll repeat what we already did in these 2 regions.
Got it. Okay. So in the last few minutes, I wanted to spend a bit of time on OCS-05. If you can, you mentioned in the beginning, but if you can summarize, what's unique about OCS-05 and its mechanism of action.
Yeah, so OCS-05 is a new class of therapeutics, which are SGK2 peptidomimetics product. The product has an effect on reducing the death of neurons, which are called retinal ganglion cells, into the retina. The product was tested in 3 animal models in glaucoma, in a multiple sclerosis, and acute optic neuritis, and consistently showing that we can reduce the retinal ganglion cells, which are the neurons we have in the retina, reduce their death, basically. And we know that, for example, if we take glaucoma as a disease, we have products which are able to reduce the intraocular pressure, but unfortunately, we do not have anything which treat the visual loss. And we know that the visual loss is correlated by the neuronal death into the retina. So therefore, if we can duplicate what we saw in animals in human, is a big deal, because we do not have anything in glaucoma, for example, or diabetic retinopathy as well, or GA. So therefore, this is what we are hoping to deliver. Now, to start, we are doing a clinical trial in Europe in a disease which is called acute optic neuritis, which is an inflammation of the optic nerve. And this will be used as a proof of concept, as a first proof of concept. We might need to have a second proof of concept in glaucoma or DR, but as a first proof of concept to show a neuroprotective effect in these indications. So extremely, I would say, excited about this program. Now, this program is early, as we always say, so it is an early program, but extremely excited with what we see in animal data and hopeful that we will be able to duplicate or replicate this in human.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you know, there have been some approved products, obviously, in diabetic retinopathy. You know, we got an approved product for geographic atrophy not that long ago, but there hasn't been much focus on neuroprotection in retinal diseases so far. How important do you think is neuroprotection in geographic atrophy and diabetic retinopathy, for instance?
I think neuroprotection is really key, because the aim here is really to protect neurons from dying. And we know that when we lose visual acuity, our neurons or retinal ganglion cells / receptors are dying. And if we can avoid this or reduce this, it will help us actually to maintain visual acuity or to avoid visual acuity loss. So this is our focus. And we believe that in GA, in diabetic retinopathy, but also in glaucoma, we need neuroprotective drugs, yes.
Got it, understand. Okay, we are almost out of time, but just a couple more quick questions. The one is on the finances. Can you comment on the company's cash balance and what do you expect the cash runway to carry you through?
Yeah, I think we are well financed. All our programs are financed, and I would say the longest one is the phase 3 DME is financed. So therefore, we are in a good position currently, thanks to our investors.
Got it. Okay, and I guess last question, the more general question that I like to end these sessions with is, what do you think investors are still missing about the Oculis story?
I think having a topical product delivering a result we delivered in DME is unique. And each time is unique and innovative. It takes time to educate the market. And therefore, I think spending time with you now, responding to questions, but also spending with investors to explain our story, explain our data, will be crucial to continue to support Oculis. I don't see anything missing. I think is really a matter of time and a matter of explaining what we are doing and sharing the data and educating the market, but extremely excited with the data we have and extremely motivated also and excited about how much we can improve patient outcomes and how much we can help the community to deliver better patient outcomes.
Got it. Well, thank you very much for that. And thank you, Riad. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniil.